Well, that was the end of the main game for Series 7. Got 2 trophies out of completing that. Actually, I'm gonna go through the monster roster. Give it a second load. I have to admit, it doesn't quite play like the other ones. I do have to admit that opening into that massive battle was kinda epic. Oh well.
Charges set.
Good work, man!
Now I go through these one by one. Beheaded Rocketeer, an undead Syrian soldier, killed long ago in a war against the instrumental and brought back to life through cybernetic zombification technology. Remote controlled by a life control unit similar to that used on the beheaded Kamikaze. Rocketeers employ outdated, low-power handheld magic missile launchers from the last days of the Syrian resistance. These weapons suffer from low efficiency and damage for which they make up for by possessing built-in techno-magical ammunition replenishers. Beheaded Firecracker. Another enemy of Mental's ironically turned into a cyber zombie. This Syrian soldier is controlled by a life control unit. In a symbolic gesture surely intended to disturb, the firecracker carries its own head in one hand. The head acts as a source of audio-visual input, but also functions as a weapon, firing 5 magic missiles in quick succession. Sadly, the beheaded firecracker is immune to its own projectiles. Interesting. Processed anthropal, commonly known simply as the Processed, are human beings adapted by harvester drones taken to an Indian harvester Leviathan, colloquially known as motherships, and are converted into alien fighting machines. The human brain is largely removed during this process and replaced by a colony of polyps that control the body. Metallic spikes are attached to both arms, amplifying the creature's close-range combat abilities. Despite their humanoid appearance, it should be kept in mind that the process conversion is irreversible. Beheaded Bomber. An undead Syrian sapper brought back to life through mentals. Blah blah blah. The beheaded bomber carries a large supply of miniaturized bombs which suddenly expand upon contact within Earth's atmosphere. The mechanism for this is not fully understood, but it is thought that the unidentified alien element reacts with nitrogen to form a highly unstable explosive compound. EDF tips. Due to the unstable nature of their armaments, beheaded bombers explode upon death. Okay. A medium-sized bipedal vertebrate originating from the planet Sirius. Gnar are not terribly intelligent, but Mental has found a way to train them to attack enemy forces on sight, which they will do with single-minded determinedness. The female of the species can be distinguished from the male by the larger size and the green hide. As Gnar are not equipped with weaponry, relying instead on sheer physical force, of their strong clawed hands to kill their opponents. They can be dispatched or seized through the use of firearms. Another efficient way to defeat a Gnar is removing its simple eye, in which instantly kills the creature. Gnar are carrion eaters and will devour anything from garbage to rotting corpses, as such as distinctive nauseating smell usually emanating from their large mouths. There is anecdotal evidence that some Gnar may have the ability to render themselves invisible, and also occasionally claims of levitating subspecimens, but these remain unconfirmed. Medic Antelope. It's unclear whether these hideously bloated and malformed creatures are the result of intentional design or merely the accidental byproduct of unsuccessful anthropal conversions. In any case, they are dangerous and highly unstable, attacking by projecting toxic bile and exploding into a cloud of noxious gas when killed. ADF troops colloquially refer to them as vultures. Gnar male. A medium-sized bipedal vertebrate originating on the planet Sirius. Gnar are not terribly intelligent, but Mentals found a way to train them to deck enemy forces safe. Oh. Okay, that's almost the exact same stats as the Gnar female. Syrian Werble. Syrian Werble is a hybrid creature created by crossbreeding Syrian DNA with an unknown species of cattle, possibly a genetically encoded insult or as horrifying cosmic joke. Unsurprisingly, this massive creature behaves much like a regular terrestrial bull. Its horns are its only defense, but this does not mean that the wearable is an easy opponent. The horns are razor sharp, and the animal can build a considerable speed during the characteristic attack charge. ADF tips. It is recommended to sidestep the wearable's charge and to use the time that the creature needs to turn around to attack its rump. With other hooved opponents, wearable's approach can be detected at a considerable distance by listening to the distinctive sound of its hooves. I am back. These crusaders of the cult of Eightfold Manifestation originating from the Sigma Octantis system have come to Earth in pursuit of their holy goal of eradicating all knowledge. Octanian Gamma Troopers form the main bulk of the Octanian war machine. As the name suggests, they are armed with gamma ray laser weapons, with which they are linked via their species cybernetic parasites. These weapons are particular religious significance to them, as they symbolize the cleansing fire with which Mental will purify the universe. When attacking, the Gamma Troopers fire a burst of green laser beams at target. Thankfully, as Octanian rifles are not perfectly adjusted to Earth conditions, the individual beams only do little amounts of damage and aren't entirely accurate. However, it's still advisable to refrain from remaining stationary or to seek cover. Minor biomechanoid. A biological mechanism grown in Mental's biotanks. Its DNA has been genetically engineered to enable it to grow mechanical parts such as the large battery contained in its skull. This device serves as a powerful energy source for the biomechanoid's weaponry, but limits its tactical processing capacity to the basic search and destroy operations. The two pulse lasers constitute the creature's primary armaments are separately manufactured and implanted in custom-grown weapon slots in the creature's flanks, which connect the lasers to the central nervous system and the biomechanoid's internal power supply. Research conducted at Genesis Alpha Orbital University suggests the biomechanoid incorporates DNA from a species of marshhopper found on Regal Centaurus. EDF tips. The server monitors that operate the biomechanoid's two legs emit loud noises that, when under peak power, make it possible to anticipate its approach. Scrapjack. Scrapjacks are body horror raised to industrial paradigm. Low-grade, crudely stitched together abominations assembled from the body parts of killed soldiers. With dismemberment and an all-time high, they are cheap to produce and easily replaced. This particular variant is equipped with 2 rocket launchers, which makes it a potentially dangerous opponent, despite its crass appearance and disjointed construction. Octanian Commander. Crusader stuff. Unlike many of the other forces of Mental's forces, Octanians follow a strict line of command. Octanian commanders are elite soldiers recruited exclusively from the ranks of the secretive Order of Octus Dei. They carry powerful deflective energy shield. EDF tips. Ammo is valuable, so it's better not to waste it on the shield. Octanian commanders should be attacked from behind. Combat drone. A small, fully automated combat drone equipped with laser turrets that are deployed in swarms to help ensure aerial superiority. While capable of some autonomous behavior, combat drones are relatively crude and require guidance, which they receive from ground-based drone control hubs. Okay. Urigan Hemivore. The Hemivore originates from Beta Agrae, where the species primarily inhabits a vast system of subterranean caves. By a strange twist of fate, the ancestors of these beings happen to resemble a creature not unlike the vampire that appeared in folklore of the Aragon sentience. As this trait consulted an evolutionary advantage, making the sentients fear the Hemivore. Over the millennia of natural selection caused the Hemivore to become increasingly similar to its fictional counterpart, acquiring a thirst for blood, the ability to levitate objects at super fast movement. EDF tips. Due to its speed, it is best to use high-velocity weapons such as shotguns or assault rifles. Caution, the Hemivore may attempt to strangle and sanguinate its victim. Beheaded Kamikaze. The beheaded kamikaze is an executed soldier. Oh, this is a different thing from the other beheaded. An electronic device that completely regulates all bodily functions and incorporates a rudimentary central module as well as a voice synthesizer. The beheaded kamikaze is almost exclusively employed for suicidal attacks, using 2 fragmentation bombs which are activated once they're within range of a suitable target. As such, it is advised to deal with these creatures as they explode violently upon death. EDF tips. The LCU's artificial intelligence is limited and can be exploited, leading to the kamikaze into friendly fire. Vegetarian Sidewinder, an ancient machine of war left over from one of Mental's previous attempts to wipe out all civilized life in the galaxy. The last batch of these were thought to have been destroyed in the Arcadia's Minor campaign, obviously at least one or more individuals who appears to have been unearthed. EDF tips. Miniguns are found to be effective against Sagittarian Sidewinders. Clear skeleton. Clear skeletons are the reanimated skeletal remains of the now extinct species of peaceful bipedal mammals from the planet Clear. They're in the Alpha Canis Majoris system, whose entire civilization was brutally wiped out by orbital bombardments. Stripped of their skin and muscles, their bones are held together by technomagical links. As this osteoadhesive effect is relatively weak, a powerful blow will suffice to shatter the clear skeleton in pieces. But it should be noted that their long claws are capable of inflicting significant damage even though a glancing blow, making melee combat challenging proposition. In addition, clear skeletons are capable of summoning a twin chain ball, which they hurl at enemies. EDF tips. It is recommended to avoid their sudden, powerful leaping attacks by sidestepping them. Listen for the distant pattern of their hooves, which announces the arrival of Clear long before the creatures show themselves for our invisible range. Eludrian reptiloid. These large hexapodal reptilians are the last surviving descendants of the one great civilization that arose in the Eludrian system of the Canis Major constellation. Faced with the limited imminent expansion and death of their son, the Eludrian ruling class forsook scientific rationalism and embraced the heterogeneous belief of their forefathers. When Mental discovered their planet, only a decadent, inbred sect remained. Living in squalor and worshipping the red supergiant scorching their world, they gladly joined his horde in exchange for spellcasting abilities. Their scales provide Eludrian reptiloids with a moderate amount of protection in combat situations. Their main mode of attack is casting self-propelled fireballs, with basic homing abilities. But they will not hesitate to engage in close combat if cornered. EDF tips. Their projectiles can be destroyed by weapons fire. Octenian Zealot. Octenian Zealots have been bred for iconoclasm, trained from youth to wield a mighty hammer blessed by the Octifex Maximus himself. They're absolutely devoted to smashing all that offends Mental. When not smashing things, they self-flagellate to punish themselves for not having smashed enough things. EDF tips. Sidestep them to avoid their hammer blows and attack their ritualistically exposed back. Canoon. The Noom were one of many sentient species that evolved on a planet in the Aratus Lambda system. Powerful and aggressive, the Noom crushed the other species into submission, eventually declaring themselves the gods and demanding to be worshipped. When they encountered Mental, they recognized a superior military might and willingly joined his new horde, where they occupy positions of great prestige. Noom are extraordinarily strong, their skin is remarkably thick, and their tissue has regenerative capabilities that are unmatched in the known universe. They may not truly be gods, but they are formidable opponents and should not be underestimated. Dr. Hermann Stein's research suggests that the appearance of these beings may have influenced the depiction of the Egyptian god Noom, whose head similarly is similarly realm-like, and this hypothesis remains unsubstantiated. EDF tips. Despite their great strengths, Noom do have a weak spot. Shoot them in the head. Space Mummy. Oh, that actually looks kind of interesting. Okay. It is perhaps unfortunate that these creatures were first encountered by Captain Samstone on the battlecruiser Saratoga, who thus had the privilege of naming them. However simplistic as the name is, it is accurately summarizes all we know about the space mummies. They are mummies and they come from space. The planet Pegasi is their most likely origin, but this is disputed. Space mummies have non-metaphorical fire burning within them, which may act as an energy source, in which they can also use as a weapon, throwing balls of fire at the target. Hatchling Arachnoid. A young holy warrior from the race of sentient extraterrestrial arthropods, Arachnoid society is a matriarchal and theocratic, with mental worshipped as a messiah-like figure, who supposedly led arachnoids to salvation. It is theorized that mental and inverted extensively into arachnoid history, producing groups such as the Neurofence of one of the Holy Hand and the even West, getting closer to the screen, I cannot read some of these words. So, Cult of the Claws, to serve his sinister purposes. Hatchling arachnoids are a late addition to Mental's forces, and has ongoing war with Earth has depleted the ranks, increasingly forcing him to rely on younger specimens. Besides the extreme difference in size to the adult arachnoid, they can also be distinguished by the lighter color of their exoskeleton and their thin, underdeveloped necks, which are also one of their vulnerable points. Their chain guns are extremely accurate and equipped with techno-magical ammunition replenisher. Arachnoids are not limited to long-distance attach, walks shout for their stinger. The chain gun is too fast and too accurate to be dodged, find cover. Adult Arachnoid. Powerful holy warrior from the theocratic alien civilization that worships Mental as the Messiah. The Arachnoid religious leadership values brute strength and mindless devotion above all else, creating a violent society of relentless conflict and constant power struggle. Adult arachnoids possess a fully developed scarlet exoskeleton, which is further augmented by additional armor. They carry advanced chain guns with technomagical ammunition replenishers, driven by their fanatical belief in their sacred task. They can enter a berserker-like rage, shooting indiscriminately regardless of who or what is in their line of fire. EDF tips. Arachnoids are not limited to long-distance attacks. Watch out for their stinger. The chain gun is too fast and too accurate. Draconian Pyromaniac. Last remnants of a sentient species that evolved in the triple star system PS. I can't fully read that. Draconis. They are fanatical fire worshippers, acolytes of a once minor cult that may have been inspired by the coming and going of the suns in the sky caused by their planet's eccentric orbit. They believe in nothing, not even mental. Their only goal is to see the universe burn. Their motto is, "It must end in fire." Their only weapon, unsurprisingly, is a flamethrower. EDF tips. The napalm tanks on the draconian pyromaniac's backs are only lightly armored and can be ruptured. Bride of Ackerman. Faced with the destruction of the hands of the legendary known in the language of the Cad, Shane, the sorceress of the Great Council, agreed to the alliance with Lord Ackerman, ruler of the Shadow Plane, but they were deceived and overwhelmed by Ackerman's dark powers, losing all independence and being transformed into the Witch Brides of Ackerman. More is in puppets for their enemies' will. Trapped in an eternal thematic limbo between material reality and the shadow plane, they shift between liminal states using their kinetic abilities to hurl projectiles at opponents. EDF tips. They can only be damaged when fully visible to the naked eye. Calypsi. Calypsi is an extremely unusual alien lifeform which resembles a floating brain with a mouth. Its origin is unknown. It may be the result of experiment or perhaps an animal found on some distant planet and modified for Mental's nefarious purposes. Its behavior is unique. When not engaged in combat, it may occasionally spawn 5 guided projectiles as if baiting at some prey. But when shot at, it will constantly spawn such projectiles until its target is overwhelmed. It is important to keep these traits in mind when encountering Calypsis on the battlefield. Adult Zubin-Cabrin spiders. Okay, I'm going to just simplify it as spider. Spiders were originally quite docile and grew no larger than a few inches. Archaeological evidence suggests that the Syrians valued them as exotic pets, even bringing them along on interstellar journeys. It would seem that Mental, with characteristic malice, transformed these innocent beings into supersized killing machines. Their main form of attack is spitting an acid projectile, but their jaws can also deliver a powerful bite. Adhesive surfaces on their feet can allow them to climb into walls and ceilings. Adult spiders are bigger and stronger than nymphs. EDF tips. Individual spiders can be easily killed with melee attacks, but watch out for swarms. Spider nymphs. Their main form of attack is spitting an acid projectile, but their jaws can deliver a powerful bite. Spider nymphs behave much like an adult specimen, but are much smaller and have thinner exoskeletons. Wait, hold on. Actinian sniper. Cybernetically connected to their rifles via parasitic polyps that the species is infected with, Actinian snipers generally seek elevated positions with a good overview of the surrounding terrain from which to track and eliminate their targets. Actinian sniper's high-velocity projectile can do significant amounts of damage. EDF tips. If you see targeting beam covering on your location, quickly seek cover. Okay. Major biomechanoid. An upgraded version of the minor biomechanoid, grown in Mental's biotanks using the same technology, but supplied more nutrients and a different genetic package. The larger battery encased in its skull powers two extremely lethal rocket launchers attached to its custom-grown weapon slots, but thankfully insufficient to power any kind of complex tactical processing. Research conducted on Gnosis Alpha Orbital University suggests that the major biomechanoid incorporates DNA from a species of marshhopper found in Rigel guitars, as well as several purely synthetic sequences. Professor Nakamura was hoping to gain insight from these sequences that would be greatly beneficial for humanity, but unfortunately, she was atomized by a biomechanoid while attempting to collect additional samples. EDF tips. The servo motors that operate the biomechanoid's two legs emit loud noise when under peak power and make it possible to anticipate its approach. Swarm Hive. Swarm Hive is a genetically modified megafaunal arthropod. The creature its genetic code is based on was a smaller, still larger for Earth standards, crustacean-like organism that lived in the rainforest of Veltas, where its long legs allowed it to reach sources of food high up in the canopy. Mental's modifications have not only rendered the swamp hives aggressive, but also hybridized them into hosts for other hostile species such as the Zubenhacabrian spider. Technopolyp helicopter. An attack helicopter infected with colonies of minute saber parasites, most likely more complex cluster of protopolyps, and almost certainly related to the kind employed to convert humans into anthropolyps. An alarming large number of helicopters were infected during the Battle of Mesa, giving the enemy forces seemingly inexhaustible supply of the heavily armored flying vehicles armed with semi-guided missiles. When under fire from a technopolyp, seek cover immediately. Technopolyps are more vulnerable to explosive weapons. Since hitting a technopolyp with missiles can be challenging, it is best to wait until it's stationary or too close for it to host on it for optimal shooting. The terminology regarding polyps is still in flux. Professor Giesel champions the use of the term I cannot read that one word, but the issue remains unsolved. Megalopolyp, an enormous tentacle colony organism assembled from millions of protopolyps, whether the creation or the result of a direct plan or simply an accident caused by the deployment of a critical mass of protopolyps remains unclear. ADF tips, kill it now. Yeah, remember that boss. I was sort of hoping it was much more of a boss than what it was. Sentient Witch Harpy. The origin of the sentient witch harpy is the subject of controversy in the scientific community, with some maintaining that it's actually a creature belonging to the clade of Orthodontia that evolved on Earth in far past, while others classify it as an exomammal and Sirius that it may have evolved on Sirius. The name refers to a find of a gold figurine depicting a similar creature discovered by Dr. Hermann Stein at the Sensian Timalis of Kuloba. All contemporary witch harpies are clones created by Mental, trained in close combat and given the ability to cast combat spells. Their over-sexualized appearance is mere mimicry intended to attract and confuse less intelligent primates, so that they may be dispatched by the creature's razor-sharp claws. Lord Ackerman. Lord Ackerman is one of Ta-Um's oldest and most faithful servants. His vast array of titles and honorifics, ruler of the Shadow Plains, creator of the Great Council, hegemon of liminality, testifies to his many triumphs over the sentient species of the galaxy. More than merely an accomplished leader, Ackerman is also Ta-Um's chief philosopher and propagandist, preaching the destruction of all attempts to make sense of the universe in favor of eternal commitment to Ta-Um, who is beyond rationality and irrationality. He is currently in charge of the Earth campaign with a focus of eliminating resistance in Europe. Oath then 4. Actually 6. Oath then 6, also known by his titles as the Gargantuan Guardian, Warlock of the Portal, and Ta-Um's Foot, the latter losing something of its originally quite threatening tone in translation, was until the very recently only known for second-hand accounts, an informant working alongside the French resistance suggested the existence of an enormous humanoid possibly related to General Ozan the Fourth, killed in the Battle of Alpha Centauri, and General Brand suggested the information might be faulty. We now know that he does indeed exist, and he is indeed very large, and they have some sort of rods attached to him that help him heal. Honestly, I don't know what else to write as I'm stuck on this battlefield, and just hope Serious Sam kills him before I get crushed. Hi, by the way. This is Ainz, your Triska editor. Blow up those rods, maybe? Okay, that's a lot to read. Anyways, if you want to see more of what else there is to read for this, I'll do that in the next